Prosecutors withdrew three key theories underlying the racketeering conspiracy charge against Sean P. Diddy Combs on April 25th, 2025. The attempted kidnapping under New York and California law, as well as the attempted arson related to the 2011 Kid Cudi Porsche fire, one of the more known ones, as well as aiding and abetting sex trafficking. These were removed to streamline jury instructions, but the prosecution emphasizes they're still pursuing racketeering, sex trafficking, and transporting individuals for prostitution. Now, why does all this matter exactly? And will Diddy be home soon? I usually tend to leave my personal thoughts out of these videos, but I'll wager that Diddy will be home by July 4th. Removing kidnapping and arson narrows the scope and complexity of the racketeering case. The accusation that Diddy held ex-staffer Capricorn Clark for a lie detector test lacks central relevance to trafficking. Linked to the 2011 fire of Kid Cudi's Porsche, prosecutors couldn't tie Diddy directly. The artist Kid Cudi testified that in late 2011, he and Cassie were dating during a Combs and Cassie breakup. He said that Diddy broke into his Hollywood Hills home, sending in an assailant who allegedly locked his dog in the bathroom, tore into Christmas gift, and disturbed his property, leading Cudi to file a police report.
A prosecution witness on Thursday at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial was the actor and singer Kid Cudi. Cudi talked about how he dated Cassie, the R&B singer who was the longtime girlfriend of Sean Combs back in late 2011. Cudi recalled being with Cassie at a hotel in the Hollywood area. He had taken her there because she was afraid that Combs would hurt her because she was dating Cudi and that he had just found out about that relationship. Now, Cudi said he received a phone call telling him that Combs was breaking into his home in the Hollywood Hills. When he got there, he found Christmas presents that had been unwrapped and his dog was locked in a bathroom. He said along the way, as he was driving, he called Combs and said he wanted to talk to him. He wanted to meet him at the house. But when he got there, Combs was gone. Cudi said that he flew with Cassie, or rather met her in Connecticut, where she was spending the holidays with her family. When he returned to Los Angeles in January, he said his Porsche 911 convertible, his car, was firebombed. He suspected that Combs had something to do with it. Cassie had told him that Combs had threatened to harm them in some way.
A few weeks later, in January 2012, Kid Cudi claimed a Molotov cocktail was placed in his Porsche 911 convertible, destroying it in his driveway. Cudi would then describe meeting Diddy the next day at a hotel where Combs stared like a Marvel supervillain, offered chilled water, then denied the involvement. Then what appears to be an attempt to strengthen his claims, Cudi would note they later crossed paths again at the Soho House, where Combs reportedly apologized.
People started laughing in the courtroom as he's describing how he first sees Combs. He said, I entered this room and Combs was looking out of a window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. At the end of that meeting,
maybe Diddy did it, or did he not? Prosecution presented 34 witnesses, including ex-assistants, former partners, and Homeland Security agents. They showcased drug-fueled freak-offs and coerced sexual encounters. With no added witnesses, the defense would rest. Combs himself chose not to testify. Maybe that's a good idea. Closing arguments are scheduled for June 26th to the 27th of 2025, covering both prosecution and defense narratives. Deliberations may begin as early as June 30th, with the judge aiming for a verdict before July 4th, just as I mentioned. In the end, while the attempted arson charge tied to Kid Cudi's firebomb Porsche has officially been dropped, the flames of that allegation still burn bright in the court of public opinion.
Let's talk Diddy. Very, very interesting stuff going on, in my opinion, on this case. The government has dropped several of the allegations for the RICO count and things of that nature. The arson, which they had zero proof of. I can't even believe they allowed testimony on the arson. Absolutely no proof of the arson and the 911 that was burnt down to the ground or whatever was happened to that car. And the kidnapping, again, the lack of evidence, the lack of proof, the lack of organization that they actually put these things into an indictment, use that indictment to keep him and hold him, make these allegations so that he shouldn't have bond, make all these allegations so he shouldn't have bond. This should have been a case where he should have been granted bond. He was ready to self-surrender. It was kind of a joke on that side of it. And we're going to see how this all shakes out, see what the jury does. They dismissed one of the jurors because they thought that he wasn't being truthful for where he lived. I thought that was an overkill. I thought they should have kept him on the jury, especially because he was African American, and I think that's what the prosecution wanted to do, is get rid of him. But we're going to see where this all shakes out. I don't think this is a clean sweep. I think the RICO case is a stretch. The sex trafficking, I think they could walk him on if they really thought about it. I think he's a John that has a violence problem. I think he needs anger management. He's not a good guy. And this is going to be the closing. He's not a good guy, but is it the things that he was doing criminal, or were these things that individuals wanted to do on their own volition, get paid $10,000 to show up and have sex with Cassie, where she was arranging most of the engagements, even without Diddy there? I actually was able to speak with one of the, prostitutes in this case, where he called my office to discuss some things. He's got a new book coming out, and I'll follow up with what he had to say, everything that's not attorney-client privilege.
Whether you believe did he do it or did he not, or side with Cuddy's chilling recollection of a supervillain encounter, this story cuts deeper than a legal technicality. It's about power, fear, and the real-life consequences of unchecked influence. What's clear now is this: the trial is entering its final act. The distractions have been cut, and the court has been exposed, and both sides are preparing for a verdict of a lifetime. Once clouded by celebrity mystique, is now a razor-sharp look at power, control, and accountability. Because in the end, it won't actually be about what the jury believe happened. It'll be about what they can no longer ignore.